This is another chapter that I rate very highly for its creativity and its attention to detail. It's the first route chapter since 1P, and that is admittedly a little disappointing. As an aside, why are bandits so suicidal in Fire Emblem games? You'd think after seeing most of their buddies get slaughtered, the last few would beat a hasty retreat. The objective in 3.6 of killing many, but not all, of the enemies would make more sense for these kinds of chapters in my opinion. But this is such an interesting map that I'm willing to forgive the route objective. Having Lagoo's enemies that are bandits, rather than mind-controlled puppets, is a first in the Tellius games, and a nice change of pace from the standard axe wielders. It also sets up a couple of compelling wrinkles to the chapter's tactics. First, the enemies are tough, and this by itself should make it unsurprising that I like the chapter, as I've already praised chapters for being challenging. But because the enemies are durable Lagoos, engagements last long enough that the player can manipulate the enemy transformation gauges to their tactical benefit. This doesn't come up frequently in any other chapter with Lagoo's enemies in the Tellius games. Usually, the player's units are strong enough that the Lagoo's enemies don't survive long enough to make their gauges relevant. This is even true, if only barely, of the Dawn Brigade in Part 3, but not in Part 1. Second, the fact that the Lagoos are locked to one range gives the weaker Dawn Brigade ranged units the opportunity to contribute, as they likely could not survive counterattacks. This is facilitated by the abundant walls and barrels that allow these fragile units to attack from safety. This ability to make ranged attacks also ties into the first point. The player can use these otherwise weak ranged attacks to force an enemy to revert, then go in for the kill with someone like Edward or Nolan, who might otherwise neither finish off the enemy nor survive retaliation. The barrels themselves are also worth calling special attention to. Not only are they an interesting variation on the standard healing tile that allow more units to be healed at once, they also, by acting as a wall, create choke points that a normal healing bush would not. I would not be surprised to learn that they were an inspiration for the pots in Chapter 12 of Conquest. One of the oddest features of Radiant Dawn is the abundance of hidden items. There's a consistent lack of rhyme or reason to what these items are, where they are, and why they would be there. It would be easy for a player playing without a guide to miss the vast majority of the relevant items, to say nothing of the ridiculous number of coins. This chapter improves on that in a big way. It's not the standard Fire Emblem Desert chapter, although there are a few sand tiles at the top of the map. Instead, treasure piles indicate possible hidden items. The player is likely to stumble on the Master Seal and make the connection, because so much of the fighting takes place where the Master Seal is located. This could have been taken even further by having hidden items where the treasure chests are located, since Soth is so likely to be opening those chests, and is also by far the most likely to find a hidden item. Even so, unlike most of Radiant Dawn's other hidden items, a player who knows only that there are hidden items in the treasure piles has a reasonable chance of finding them without a guide. Finally, I would be remiss if I did not mention the wolf statues, which I noticed for the first time during my recent playthrough. This references the impending meeting after the chapter with Nyla and Volug, and may also indicate that wolf Lagoos once occupied the building or the region. Obviously the statues have no gameplay significance, but they're one of the coolest visual touches I can recall seeing in any Fire Emblem level. Overall, this is a fantastic level, and one of my favorites in Part 1.